I think generally the root issue is really the lack of communication. And when there's no communication, you're just rooting yourself in isolation. And that should not be the case, right? Because you root yourself in isolation, you root yourself in separation.
Hello and welcome to the Connect to Marriage podcast. I'm Jo and I'm your host for this episode. In each episode of the Connect to podcast, we tackle questions that couples ask about marriage, communication, conflict, intimacy, goals, dreams, so much more. And so we hope you keep tuning in to learn with us as you grow closer, deeper, and stronger in your marriage. Now, we've been talking about kindness and forgiveness as powerful choices and integral tools to marriage, to build trust and to build love and to have a blissful marriage. So in the last episode, we had Mario and Shalyn with us who shared some key insights as to why kindness and forgiveness are so important. And we want to just welcome them back. Mario is a Sikh and Shalyn is a Chinese. So anyway, they have a cross-cultural marriage. They've been married for over 17 years
yeah,
with two teenage children.
Yes.
Yeah, they're back today to really dive deep with us to give us some practical tools.
Looking forward to it.
All right. If you did not manage to catch part one, I really encourage you to go back to that and listen in. But today we want to just ask, we've been talking about the importance of kindness and forgiveness, but obviously we know that this is tough for many couples, for many marriages. What is that thing that holds couples back from exercising or extending kindness and forgiveness to the one who is supposed to be the closest and dearest to us?
I think it can be a variety of reasons. Number one, if there's always one dynamic where either spouse is always extending forgiveness and kindness, they may feel like, hey, my tank is already empty. Why do I have to keep on doing it? Why is that something you're not learning? I think that's one. Number two, I think generally the root issue is really the lack of communication. And when there's no communication, if you think about it, Jo, you're just rooting yourself in isolation. And that should not be the case, right? Because you root yourself in isolation, you root yourself in separation. So a marriage, by definition, if it's really coming together, it's really having that union, then you've got to break that thoughts of isolation, that thoughts of separation. So I think I'll kick off with that. And probably another perspective is this. Sometimes to see kindness and forgiveness for what it is, it's important to see what it is not. And what I mean by that is, think about what's the opposite of forgiveness is unforgiveness. And we've all heard this old wise saying, right? Unforgiveness is a poison you drink hoping the other person dies. So you really have got no choice, If you're not exercising forgiveness, you are technically exercising unforgiveness, and it's going to literally kill you and your spouse.
That's true. Would you say, Shalyn, that is probably the same for wives?
I think a lot of time they hold back is because of fear in them. They fear that the other person doesn't really see what you want to share. And then it can end up in a second argument after that because of the differences. But I guess speaking the truth with love will help. If you truly believe in a marriage, tell the truth, speak the truth with gentleness and with love. And most importantly, I think crafting your words very carefully before you speak is very important. When I first got married, I came from a background that I used to be very bullied by people because I'm softer, I am a quiet person. Yeah, so I learned to be very, very ruthless. I learned to be very, very hard with my words because I need to fight back as a way to protect myself. When we first got married, I used very, very harsh words that cuts right deep into your heart and cause you to bleed. Yeah, it is really, really very harsh words. And he's always praised me for being so good with cutting words.
I don't think it's really a praise, but
It's like a sarcasm.
yes. But I can tell you for a fact, I didn't even think she was going to bring this up, but this is true. That when we first got together, her words were really very cutting. There are words you just hear, it just rubs you the wrong way.
Yes.
And then of course over time she either through her own personal self-reflection or as a couple reflection, we then realize why she was speaking like that as what she shared. But that part is absolutely true. The way it was just too cutting at the start.
Yeah. So eventually I learned, because I care about this marriage. To me, this marriage is forever, So I learned to calm myself down. I choose the words. So times when I fight with him, I will usually choose to shut myself in the toilet, pray a little bit first, and I will do a lot of reflection. It's like, what could I have said better? What words should I have used? What could I have done better? And I'll rehearse in my head, and then I will think of when to speak to him, how to speak to him. I even rehearse my words. Rehearse how should I bring this about and how will he react so that we can resolve our differences. That really takes a lot of humility, I should say, because I humble down myself, tell myself, what did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? What could have been done better? What could I have said better that not trigger someone and yet still can resolve the problem? So I usually do that. I rehearse. Even right now, sometimes I still do that. I still do that, because in the end, I want to resolve it peacefully. I still want my husband. I still want this marriage. I want us to live many, many, many more years till death do us part. So this is what...
happily too, right?
Yeah, happily too.
Yeah, I think this is really, really insightful and very interesting because the thing that holds us back sometimes is fear. It's not, because of our ego or anything, but it's like self-protection, right? Like what you said, how you learn to protect yourself by using strong words. But I do realize that, this gives actually a lot of hope to marriages that if we are willing to believe in marriage as that lifelong institution and that it can be great, it can be something that is thriving and not just surviving by a thread, there are things that we can do to make it such. I mean, it takes effort, definitely. It takes humility, as you get, but it is doable and it's achievable. So in other words, a great thriving marriage where there's kindness and forgiveness exercised between husband and wife is a reality. It can be a reality for any couple.
The key here, I think, is one word called intentional. Got to be intentional, because if you're not intentional about building a marriage that can last throughout time, then things just happen. Life will always happen. If you want life to happen for you instead of happening against you, then you've really got to be intentional. And our life is really like a blank canvas. And we're not just saying this out of theory, Joe. I can share something with you. We have a family tradition, so to speak, right? That at the start of every year, 1st of January, we've been doing this, I think, for the last 5 to 8 years. And we get the kids involved where we actually sit down on the 1st of January every year. We've got something called a goal setting piece.
Okay.
And it's called the 4P matrix. So we have personal goals, we've got people goals, we've got philosophy goals, we've got profit goals. Profit goals meaning to say, for the kids, okay, how much money would you like to save? And it's really about being intentional to craft it out, to let them know that, okay, you can set goals. And more importantly, if you're intentional about it, work towards making those goals happen.
So we should all set a goal for kindness and forgiveness.
Yes. So in the goals, we also talk about the two siblings. They will talk about, is Chantal kinder to you now? Are you all more forgiving towards each other? Do you all fight less? Do you all learn to resolve with each other differences? So these are also part of the goals.
Relationship goals.
Yes, relationship goals.
Okay, let's get on to the nitty-gritties. How do both of you show kindness or receive kindness from each other?
Marriage is one of the most rewarding things in life. Yet, navigating marriage as newlyweds or an engaged couple can sometimes get overwhelming. Whether it's managing expectations of the in-laws, getting a good grasp of your family finances, or establishing good habits of communication and healthy conflict. Focus on the Family Singapore's Marriage Preparation Program aims to help you build a solid foundation in the early years and prepare you for the adventure of your life. Visit family.org.sg/C2 Marriage Prep for more information today.
The 5 languages of love. What works for him is acts of service. Acts of kindness and service to him. He's a person that loves food. So I know what works for him. Gifts doesn't work, I have tried buying him expensive wallets and stuff. I will get a scolding from him. Why are you wasting money? I don't need another t-shirt. I don't need another shirt, another pair of shoes. Yeah, so gifts doesn't work for him. But it works for me. So
she's hinting.
Received multiple times.
Yeah. So what works for him is act of service. I know what he likes to eat. Sometimes I'll cook his favorite food. And then if I'm out shopping or doing some grocery or what, I will buy his favorite chai tau kueh to come home. And that makes him very happy. We bring back some durian sometimes. He is very satisfied. And also, he likes to bring me almost everywhere. He likes my companionship a lot, I know. Every everywhere he goes, he will usually wants me to tag along, even doing small errands or what. So I know that makes him happy. So initially I complained, hey, I have my own set of things to do. I have my priorities, but he always will non-stop asking me to go. And then after some time, we did quarrel about it, After a while, I gave in. I know that it's important to him, and I will do it.
Okay, Mario,
Yeah.
the test now. What's Shalyn's love language, or how
Well, I mean, there's multiple. But even before that, right, I just want to say this. A couple that grows together really stays together. A couple that grows together thrives together. So even when I want her company, right, and she understands because she's busy with the family kind of thing. I mean, I've got my stuff to do, but because I'm intentional about building this together and wanting her companionship, after a while she thought, hey, this is true because we're now defaulting to the marriage values and not just about personal values. So that part is key. I just wanted to share that part. So for her love language, so to speak, or how she receives kindness would be two ways. Number one, she really needs me to listen. And I think maybe a bit more in depth, listen without giving solutions. How does that even work? So you see, everyone is different, right? So for her, it's really about listening intently, not just listening and don't give a solution, but to receive that emotion and that feeling that comes out of that sharing. Wow, that takes a skill. And I think many husbands really need to learn that. So I've learned that. So that's one, right? The way she receives kindness. Number two, to appreciate her in all the small things that she does, and I think that goes a long way. I think she truly appreciates, as an example, over the last 17 years, for our anniversary, I'll send her flowers. I don't think I've missed a year. And she appreciates that. She really does.
You don't say to yourself, like, so expensive, why you?
That's why I don't buy it on Valentine's Day. I buy it on anniversary day, right? Okay, that's being smart.
And Mother's Day too.
Oh,
yes, you
look at that. And Mother's Day too. And I didn't want to throw it in. She threw it in. So it's really about every modality is different. So for her, it's listening intently to receive her emotion. Number two is to really appreciate her in the things. And of course, she likes nice things. Like, recently we were in Italy. This was in December, I think, for a family holiday. So I went to seek out, like, okay, I know for a fact that Italy is a place that has high fashion and whatnot, right? But so there was a place that was about an hour away from Rome, but we took a cab and to go. I went to find the place because I knew it's not going to be near, so I took effort in finding it. And then we went there. She appreciated that. She had her time looking, shopping. Thankfully, she didn't buy too much things, right? But I think she appreciates that. So for her, it's listening, appreciating, and getting her small gifts.
Okay, so obviously we really do need to go, in a way, the extra mile for our spouse. And that is kindness in action. But as we know it, life often throws us curveballs, and there will be, times when we are touchy, sensitive about things, and we might offend each other. So how does this work for both of you? How does this play out when it comes to offenses and dealing with them or reconciling through them?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have come to a stage over all these years, Joe, that many things don't pull our feathers that much anymore. But don't get me wrong, okay? It doesn't mean that sometimes that we are not angry or we just don't hold the grudges. It's become such a part of us already. Because when she kind of takes me off in her way, because we are so tethered to each other, my day gets messed up. I think she may have mentioned it just now, and it's true that I find myself being restless. I cannot manage myself or my day because I'm not having that union with my wife. And how do you even reach that stage? I mean, we're still growing, we're still learning. It is really about these two keywords, which is why we have made it such a part of our life. This is like a tenet to our marriage, these two keywords, kindness and forgiveness. We're not just choosing the words because, it sounds nice. We are really having that word in action, and it's something I just really want to encourage everyone, be intentional about practicing kindness and forgiveness in our marriage. And I assure you, you will start to see the thriving, you'll start to see that success in the marriage more and more.
Could you maybe walk us through, let's say you guys had a heated argument.
So this happened few months back. And for some reason, Joe, birthdays in our family is a big thing. When I say big thing, as in we want to celebrate the person. And this is a learning lesson for both of us because, can you imagine? This is not something that happened 17 years ago. This just my last
year,
birthday.
probably.
Exactly. So it's a big thing for me that it's important to get the person a cake. This may sound trivial to you, but it was my birthday. And as the day was going on, it became clear to me that there's no cake leh. because we were going out for dinner, so I told the kids to just walk ahead first. I said, where's the cake? And she didn't have it. Joe, I tell you, I was livid. Not because of a cake, lah. I mean, I can buy 10 cakes, but it's the thought behind it. Of course, in her mind was that, we're just out for dinner. She likes that closeness of a dinner. I like the cake, lah.
Do you like eating the cake or just...
No, I like that, singing the happy birthday, celebrating the person. Not just for me, it's not for my own ego trip, but we do it for her, for the kids and all that. So she somehow I don't think she conveniently forgot. I think she just forgot, accidentally forgot.
Accidentally.
But maybe she can continue part 2 of how she redeemed herself, So that's where kindness and
Firstly,
forgiveness comes in.
let me say, because to me, birthday cake is never important. So it's different perspective.
Yeah.
For me, if I celebrate together with my family, with my children, my husband together for a meal, we enjoy the day together, and that is really sufficient for me. To me, cake is like, I'm not a cake person.
Calories, yeah.
So to me, it's like, hey, no need. Like, as long as I have a happy family, we enjoy the day together, to me, it's very sufficient, So to me, like, cake is not that important, but I forgot about him. To him, the cake means the world to him. It's very, very important, especially on his birthday.
And the candles included. And
Yes.
the song.
Yeah, and
And
the
the song.
song. Yeah, he loves to be celebrated.
Well, we celebrate the kids
Yes.
also.
Yeah,
Yes.
but even if you did away with the cake and the candles and the song, I think she's saying they are all okay with
This
it.
is true. You're absolutely right. From her
Yes.
perspective, yes.
What I did is I went to the toilet, I make a call to my maid and summoned her to go and get a cake from the nearest cake shop. So she bought the cake and then I told her to light up the candles. As and when you saw us, parking our car coming in, you have to light it up, switch off the light and let it be a total surprise for him. And we did that and it was successful. Everything was good and then he was happy.
Did you know that it was actually trying to,
Well, I didn't know that.
salvage the
I
situation?
honestly thought that she, that
She
there's just
planned a
gonna-
surprise.
Yes, I mean she did, but there is an even better silver lining out of this, Joe. So after that whole thing, she received it from me now that it hurt me. You know what she did? Even after that celebration, she actually gathered the kids, because sometimes we have our own family talk at night. And she talked about it. She said, Daddy really wanted a cake for this and I screwed up. She actually admitted that in front of the kids, and the kids didn't know such a thing, right? That something existed. But that was beautiful for her to say that she admitted that in front of the kids. That to me was a story of not just hope or redemption kind of thing, but it is the true essence of kindness and forgiveness that happened right there. That was wonderful.
That's really so rich.
That is.
All right. Are there some do's and don'ts, especially when things get touchy and sensitive and we know we've offended our spouse or our spouse feels offended?
Well, here's a story. I was in Vietnam recently. I was speaking to my staff. For some reason, it just went to relation questions because we are close, right? Me and my staff. And one of the staff asked, Mario, how do you have a better relationship with your wife? And another staff, before I could answer, he said, I know, Mario told us before, kiss your wife often. And why it stuck with me, right? Here's the undertone, okay? To practice kindness and forgiveness, Joe, it's really about making small emotional deposits every single day. Because there will be a point of time that you'll have to draw on that. You know what I mean? So really find out what works for your spouse. That's where the honest and open communication comes in. But at the end of it is thinking in this analogy about making emotional deposits to each person. Forget
That's
a
the
cake
investor talking.
It is, but it's true, right? When
Right.
these deposits and withdrawal, because I can tell you, for us men, when we screw up, there'll be a point of time where there's going to be a withdrawal, so to speak, right? But building upon the emotional deposits, the social capital, so to speak, it can go a long way. So it's really about being intentional in the marriage.
Being patient and listening is very important. I mean, I've learned that, when the other person is angry over certain things, learn to be quiet and listen first. Let the frustration come out. That will ease the fire. If you add on something more to say, it will actually stir up even a bigger fire. So learn to receive the person's emotion. Even I learned to receive the emotion of my kids when my kids is frustrated. That's what I learned from some counseling, that if your kids are very frustrated over something or upset over something, you learn to receive their emotion, hold their emotion first before you give them the solution or give them advice on what should be done or not. or whether this is right or this is wrong. So I learned to receive his emotion first. Let him throw out whatever unhappiness and whatever frustration first. Okay, I receive already. After that, if I'm in the wrong, I usually, nowadays, I will say I'm sorry. It's difficult, yeah. It is very difficult initially because it takes a lot of humility and really willingness to do the first step of recovery. So we're saying sorry and then receiving it. If you're really in the wrong, there's nothing wrong to apologize first. And then after that, we resolve on talking about what should be done, what is expected in the future so that we can work it out.
That's really quite a skill, though, to receive your spouse's emotions and yet not take it upon yourself
Yes,
such that
not
you,
judging, not...
correct, or where now you get offended.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, I totally agree with you. Like, to say I'm sorry, it's often said that wives find it more difficult to apologize than husbands. But I always tell my husband that's because it rolls off your tongue so easily. You don't really mean it. Whereas when we apologize as a wife, it's because we spend a long time reflecting upon ourselves. And
That's true.
What a cop out, man.
all right, okay. Well, as you know, in each podcast, it is our practice to address a frequently asked question that couples have about dating and marriage. Today's question is probably a bit tricky or maybe painful. Today's question is this: one of the values that my husband and I agreed on when we got married is to never blame or criticize each other, especially in front of other people. There are times, however, that I do feel torn within. I don't understand why he makes certain remarks when he's with my family, and I've observed that my parents have actually taken offense at some of his comments. I'm feeling quite stuck in the middle and find it difficult to tell him in the moment. How can I convey my concern to my husband sensitively and with kindness when he has actually been so unkind?
We both like to do our little dates by going for food reflexology. The last time we went there was a little bit of misunderstanding. Mario was massaged by this male masseuse, and then he was a bit hard on his leg. Mario, instead of telling the person that, hey, can you soften down, he actually pulled his leg back. And one time after another time, he kept doing that until he couldn't take it anymore. And he actually scolded that guy, and quite loudly. So I have to come over and calm him down and says that you need to be less offensive. Your words could have hurt that person. When you talk to him, probably you should speak it right to him. He may not catch your action. He may not be able to catch your cues. So instead of scolding him, why don't you just tell him that, can you just lighten up a little bit? At the point of time, Mario was a bit frustrated because he has some problem probably in handling some of his stuff, something was up in his mind. Usually doesn't behave like that. For at that moment, maybe it's just like wrong timing and the wrong time and wrong person. And it happens that it hurts him so badly on his leg that he was like triggered. But after that, he understood and he repented in a way. So I think explaining and sharing, I mean, that's what I do, how the persons feel. And I will explain to my spouse about his action so that he understand, hey, my action could have caused a reaction to the other person, so that he will learn to control his own reaction and temper better.
So there is a need, in this case, of the wife who's asking for her to actually articulate this to her husband.
Yes, articulate. Because it's your parents, right? Maybe you would tell your spouse about your parents being at old age, how would they receive it? And then certain words may prick them, and probably your husband will be able to receive it better.
Did you give this feedback to Mario when you were there?
She did. I mean, she's right, because after that, I went to reflect. So I wasn't really thinking. I just felt I could have told him. So that was entirely my mistake. So it's only in the aftermath and after you do a reflection and all that. This happened, I think, not too long ago.
Yeah, just not.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's about the remedial side of it. So that's why the key word of having kindness, forgiveness, I think it's just vitally important. Or maybe I share something else from another angle, After someone has really extended kindness and forgiveness and person doesn't really change for whatever reason, right? Of course, because we spoke about, having that communication and all of that, right? Sometimes part of the reason why people hold back anymore, it's a very subconscious thing that I feel that because I can't win the other spouse anymore, even after extending on the good side, making all those emotional deposits. And now I start holding back, thinking that, hey, I now have this unconscious power by trying to keep you in a psychological prison, by not extending my forgiveness, not extending my kindness anymore. And that's a place I think that I have seen some couples go to, and it is not healthy. It really isn't. So the key thing to say is always just thrive on these two keywords, which is why we hold these two keywords fairly dear to us, of having kindness and forgiveness, because things happen in life. You're in a pressure cooker, emotions can run wild, you're frustrated, things not going well. There's just so many problems in life, right?
Yeah.
Which is why, again, you got to be intentional about it.
I guess like in such a tough world that we live in, it would be nice if our spouse who's closest and dearest to us shows us and is the first to show us kindness.
Yes.
So with that, I really do hope that our listeners have gained some perspective and also some practical tools as to how we can make kindness as well as forgiveness a habit in our marriage, a great investment also for our marriage to go the long haul. Now, before we give the couple challenge for this episode's podcast, do you have any last words of encouragement or directives for our listeners out there?
Well, life is really short, We only have like 30 to 50 years with your spouse, or maybe even shorter, it depends. So why not do that little bit of kindness and practice kindness and forgiveness towards your spouse and choose to live a happier life rather than being so self-centered and keep on fighting and then in the end break up the marriage. It is worse. So my advice is just do it.
Don't drink your own poison.
Yeah, just do it. Do not procrastinate. Practice makes perfect.
A marriage is really worth fighting for. And I say fighting for as in it's worth fighting for. A marriage is worth thriving for because both parties come out the better out of it. 1 + 1 really equals 10. If we can have that perspective, coming together as a husband and wife, is really a positive force to be reckoned with. And I'll end with this, and I'm feeling a little bit poetic now. Go something like this. Your mind is like a garden. Your thoughts are like the seeds. Choose kindness and forgiveness so you don't deal with weeds.
Well, thanks, Mario and Shalyn. It's been great having you with us these 2 episodes.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe, for having us.
Well, before we let our listeners go, in each podcast, we do end off with a couple challenge. And so today's couple challenge, especially if you're listening to this with your spouse, for both of you to do it together, what is one way you can show kindness and forgiveness to your spouse this week? Okay, really practical, really get down to it and share it with your spouse so that you can keep each other accountable. And we hope to hear some good stories out of that. Well, we hope this episode has encouraged you and has given you some practical handles on extending kindness and forgiveness to your spouse in marriage. And we also hope that you will share this episode with a friend who may benefit from it too. If you're looking out for more resources to grow your relationship and marriage, do visit our website, family.org.sg, to browse our articles or check out our upcoming events. And so with that, I thank you for tuning in, and until next time, do take care of yourself and your spouse.